Welcome to another episode of Day Dot Sports. Now, hopefully all of this is going to be recording properly. I am filming this on my phone. I did break it on Grand Final night. Un-Grand Final related. Fell off my lap. I was sitting just like regular chair height. Slipped off and broke the screen, so I can't actually see anything. Hopefully everything's working, but going to be having a bit of a yarn about sports, giving my not so serious opinion, so do keep that in mind. Like and subscribe, follow all the socials. I'm going to link all of that below. Really want to get things pumping up to 500 subscribers. Well on the way there on YouTube. TikTok's absolutely flying, and Instagram, it could be doing a lot better. So if you are on there, see the link, go give it a follow. Make sure you don't miss anything. I've got some collaborations coming up, some big things in the works. Obviously, we've got the off season as well as the international game, so plenty still going on. Jumping straight into things, we got the player of the week. Easy pick, Liam Martin. He is my player of the week, the Clive Churchill winner himself. He was a weapon against the Storm in the Grand Final. His kick chase, I would say, would only be second to probably kick out. The intensity that he just goes after it makes things happen in those games. It would be nightmare fuel for any of the teams that he plays, let alone those Melbourne boys on Sunday. Every single time a kick went long, you had him absolutely pumping after it. As soon as they caught it, bang, Martin smashed him. He was elite. He scored one try, jumped over Coates to pretty much get an assist on the other one as well. I know Leota threw the last pass, but I'd give that to Martin. He probably could have scored that himself as well. And I think he made something like 46 tackles, so mammoth effort from him. No wonder he won the Clive Churchill. You could just tell, like, as that game was going, he created so many chances just going that hard. He was super impressive. So yeah, player of the week. He shut down everything. So end of the season's already hit us. Rugby league is over already. Everything has happened so quickly. I can't believe that we're already at the end of it. Jumping straight into the final recap though. Penrith Panthers are the greatest team to ever do it, and there is not an argument for anyone else. They would pump the Dragons of old, pump the Eels, any other team you want to put in front of them. You're kidding yourself if you think otherwise. If you told somebody 5 years ago that they would be doing a four-peat, you'd flat out be told you've lost the plot. Cleary and about 8 other of those blokes have got 4 rings now and could arguably just about go down in the top 5 for each of their positions. It is insane. It would be a rough time in rugby league if we did not have the salary cap and those players leaving that team. But even then, with that team, all those people leaving, they've still managed to do it back to back to back to back. It is just mind-boggling. But I guess that's kind of what everyone's been saying. But God, imagine if they kept that team together. It would just be broken. If that original team from probably like 2021, 2022 were together, so your Burtons, your Kikau, everything like that, it would just be disgusting. So the whole game was really chalked up to a battle of the spine and then the defence of the Penrith Panthers. Again, Panthers' defence, it held up and it led them to the win. They just backed themselves 100%. And why wouldn't you after what you've been able to achieve? Few people probably didn't really have them as, obviously they weren't even as favourites coming into this game. Had a few shaky-ish ones leading up to it, but it didn't matter. As soon as finals hit, bang, they were right there, performing how they needed to be, showing up for each other, and at the end of the day, their defence just doesn't fail. It was a proper tug of war, though. Reminded me very much of the third State of Origin. There were tries a little bit earlier on, but such a low-scoring game where it was just intense the entire time, just that real struggle and really tough for either team to break through. But Penrith, again, they're not really going to lose those ones. So the defence, they just shut down arguably up until this game the best team this season. They're the minor premiers. What can you say? They have been pumping teams throughout the year, and they shut down that spine that is just so dangerous that everyone had been talking about. Didn't allow players like Munster, Hughes or Paps to get into the contest in any serious way, or definitely no way that they would in previous outings that they've had and how they've performed for most of the season. Penrith just did not give them an inch. Shut them down. You had your guys again like Liam Martin charging after any kick chase, putting pressure on all those guys. So it was very, very difficult to get in there. Now, are we starting to talk Ivan Cleary as one of the greatest coaches of all time? Really just shows to show the masterclass and the level of coaching Ivan is at. He has got more premierships in the last 5 years than some of the other GOATs, your Bellamy's, your Waynes. Yeah, it is insane what he's managed to achieve. How can people say that he shouldn't be coaching New South Wales or couldn't do it while doing Penrith? Look at what he's achieved. It's crazy. So imagine if he goes on now to win a series against Queensland. Really hoping he doesn't coach for them because we don't need that Ivan Cleary smoke. Does a little bit of that. Keeps going with Penrith. a little bit later on when Mel gives up the Australian gig, jumps in there. Yeah, let's win a few with Australia as well. I think if that happened, there'd be no doubt. But it is impressive what he has done. When it comes to Sunday, it was just a great day for sports, really. You had UFC in the morning. I must say, overall, the card probably not the best. So we'll talk about the main event a little bit later on. But you had that rolling straight into the footy. So that was just, it was perfect. I hadn't had any drinks as well for about 5 weeks. The grand final day was a perfect day for it. Sun was out, pool was nice, just perfect. Now, for Storm, I feel like not having Big Nelson really hurt them in the middle there. You're up against the Penrith guys. They're probably the 2 best in the league, possibly the 2 best to ever do it, with Big Moses and Big Fisher Harris. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the impact is going to be for Penrith losing him. But at the same time, what are they getting? Isaiah Papali'i? So yeah, pretty good player coming in. Wouldn't put him in, in the same category as Fisher Harris. He's pretty much as good as they come, and that 1-2 punch of him and Moses has been elite for years. But yeah, not having that size or just really anyone out there that could potentially test them or have even the experience that Nelson had, I think really held them back a little bit. Would have been nice. I don't think they necessarily would have won, obviously, just having Nelson, but definitely would have helped. A lot of people, throughout this game are blowing up about some of the decisions. There was the Jack Howarth try. Even people have put on up the one with Taruva, and it's just like, stop. Why are we pulling everything to pieces? Well, I could understand the perspective with the Howarth one. A lot of angles kind of went, both ways. It looks like the ball's down. Others they've put out afterwards and shown, no, you can see there's an arm under there. Look, it's too late now. It doesn't matter. It doesn't help to kind of sook and whine about it. Sucks, obviously, if your team lost the grand final. That was the game-winning try, but they still were behind on points. They still would have had to do a lot more. So, yeah, it's just one of those things. We all know the refs get things wrong. The bunker gets things wrong. We've seen that. It's been such a big discussion all year, over and over and over. Every game, every other week. It's the same in and out. And it sucks. There are some stupid calls, whatever happens. But you kind of get it both ways a lot of the time. You might have some weeks everything goes your way. Other weeks it's all just shit house, bad calls, whatever it might be. I understand the impact is obviously a lot bigger when it comes to your finals, and particularly grand final. You don't want that sort of stuff happening, but they would have had a lot of pressure on them. I'm sure not to make those mistakes as well. The Taruva one, I don't know why that's in a discussion. I feel like Melbourne fans are getting so riled up about it. And it's just one of those things. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. It's just what you get with the refs. And Lord knows as well, Storm are usually a side where things tend to go their way referee-wise. So, I don't know. I don't think they can really get too up in arms in that. Now, I don't know if it was just myself or maybe it was in the moment, whatever it might have been, but I just didn't feel the grand final in particular. We knew it was the 2 best teams. It was amazing. Great game of footy, but at the same time wasn't maybe quite the same spectacle that it was last year. I don't know what it was that was missing. I don't know if it's just because we had such a technical arm wrestle, which at the same time, is really enjoyable to watch, but it might not appeal to your overall, your average Joe, person that flicks on the finals every now and again. They're not watching rugby league every single week or following. They might put on the grand final like I do for the AFL. That's pretty much about it. They might look at that and go, oh, that's, a bit of a boring game. We've heard Penrith have won. Not much really to it. And, that might just be a little bit hard in comparison to the super fast-paced, electric, crazy final that we had last year, which I'm still coming to terms with that loss, but yeah, it was a very different final to the years before that as well. So, and I thought as well, even leading up into the final series, had Penrith kind of got sick of it to an extent. I know that kind of sounds stupid to say, but after being there for now their 5th year in a row, 4 years winning, do you start losing that will to go for it, to really get up for it? I think it happens a lot when you have champions of different sports, whatever it might be. I know in UFC, it kind of happened with your John Jones, probably Israel Adesanya as well, where they're just winning. They've beaten everyone. They've done everything. They've cleared out everybody. It's a lot harder, I think, to continue that training like you're trying to win the championship or win a premiership for the first time when you've been there, done that, and especially in Penrith's case this many times in a row. I was starting to wonder, is the hunger there? But it clearly is. They had a lot to play for with a few of those guys leaving the club, as I've gone over a few times. But yeah, they are just ridiculous. Yeah, you cannot knock them at all. And it would be crazy. I don't think we'll see it, but could the Storm be destined for an absolute fall-off after this loss? We've seen it before. All the teams that have been beaten by Penrith in the last few years have fallen off a cliff. Kevy's gone for the Broncos. JD's gone for the Rabbits. Arthur's has gone for the Eels. They were in a bloody spoon bowl. It was a shit show. Do I genuinely think it can happen? Well, surely not at this point, but you wouldn't have really thought that those other teams would have had such a dramatic fall-off either. Imagine free agent Bellyache getting booted from Melbourne. That's it. It will never happen, obviously, with the track record he has. But yeah, if it wasn't for him being contracted to the Storm, I really would have liked to see him for the Broncos job. But yeah, it just wasn't meant to be. Pretty tough gig though for the Storm players. Going in as favourites, I think the majority of people and a lot of fans would have been going for them as well. So many people, for whatever reason, don't like Penrith, whether it's the players that they've won a few times, they've won this many times in a row, whatever it might be. So many people, I think a lot of neutral fans would have been going for Melbourne. I was on the flip side of the fence. So it was happy days for me with Penrith. I'm happy to see them get 4 in a row. I think it's amazing what they've achieved. But yeah, few people hating out there. It ended up pretty much just being Harry Grant versus the Panthers, I think, after a period of time. He was doing everything he could to change that game, scored first, really put on a show, tackled about 1 million blokes as well, and just, wasn't enough against that full Penrith team. So, yeah, I can imagine it would be such a sweet win for the Penrith fans, probably even more so than previous years, because they've never really been the underdog coming into these. So, yeah, it's going to be a pretty rough one. Everyone had Storm winning. They pretty much, not that they written off Penrith, nothing like that, obviously, but it would have been nice with everyone. And Storm fans in particular, they can be a bit much sometimes. Like, I pretty much would want any other team to win besides Storm. So while Penrith Panthers might have broke my heart last year, I needed them to get up. So yeah, that's where we're at. On top of everything finishing, the Australian squad, they have named their squad for the Pacific Championship. So a lot of familiar faces in there that deserve to be in there. A few that are missing. We have about 1 million injuries to probably a lot of our top players. I've got no complaints with it. A little bit odd though, there were a few players missing that have been mainstays for the better part of a decade. A lot of senior players, and those being Teddy and DCE, I think in particular, missing is really a little bit odd. DCE, bit strange. I don't think he's necessarily been going, bad. He, come third in the Dally M's, and then you got Teddy at number 2. So you got second and third, best voted player for the year in their respective positions as well. They're just elite. They've been doing it for so long. Their experience is unmatched. Have not had bad seasons at all, and Meninga's pretty much come out saying, but it was picked on Origin, which, sure, that's kind of how it's traditionally been done, but not to kind of take into account potentially the rest of it might be a bit of an oversight. But on the flip side of things, I can see the perspective of moving forward into the future. There's a lot of young players that are very, very talented that are going to get exposed to it. I guess maybe he's seeing it. It's not a a test, a World Series type of thing, a World Cup. So yeah, maybe it's something to do with that. Not too sure, but it is a little bit odd not seeing him there. Ponga, no surprises. He was bounced out of the team. He's going to be in Bali soon. I'll be seeing him there. And it's really cool to see all the squads coming out as well. I feel like it is starting to get a little bit more competitive with some of those smaller nations that are involved. You look at the Tongan squad, that is looking elite. Samoa going over to England. The New Zealand squad obviously is some pretty top tier stuff. Look, Australia should pump them. Australia should win, that's for sure. But look at what happened last year. Everything was going well, pumping all these teams, and then New Zealand came out and flogged us when it mattered most. So hopefully we're not going to see a repeat of that. I'm keen for these games. It is something a little bit different. It gives you that little bit of rugby league after the grand final of the season's finished. Make sure you don't get too sad. But yeah, like I said, a lot of our players are busted up and getting surgery as well. So yeah, it is what it is. And the Panthers, they pull the pin on the World Cup challenge. Barley season is booked in for the boys after winning 4 rings. And if any team deserves a rest, it is the Penrith Panthers boys. Really as well, do that many people care about the World Cup challenge? I'd usually say it's a bit rough for a team to be pulling out of something like that. But with 5 grand finals in a row, winning 4 of them, and most of their team getting picked for international duties, with Vegas at the start of next year, let the boys kick their feet up. Let them chill out in the off-season. I don't think most people, when it's getting played in England and getting up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning on whatever day to watch the World Cup challenge. Barely anyone that I know really woke up last year to watch it, especially, like I said, if they're playing in England. Might be a little bit different here if it's home, but, in saying that, Penrith haven't won one, and that's pretty much the only thing they haven't achieved at this point. I think I was reading something saying Isaiah Yeo is a little bit disappointed that, the club has stepped forward and gone, we're not playing. We're going to be that busted out. We've got a million other things to do. International series is on. Very understandable from where they're coming from. It kind of... It's weird now you're getting single players pulling out of representative footy, but then you've got a whole club saying, well, not that it's representative, to the international scale, but going, no, we're not doing this other shit at the moment. But fair enough. Look at what they've achieved. If they can do whatever the fuck they want now that they've achieved all that. No other person, no other club is coming close to that. If they want to have a little bit of off time with everything else going on, then they've more than deserved it at this point. Alright, so that's pretty much all for footy. Now, the other clash that did happen on the weekend was in UFC 307, Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree. Now, I just want to touch on that particular fight. There were a few other fights in there that were alright, but a lot of legends going down. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson getting knocked out. Jose Aldo getting held up against a fence for 3 rounds, which was a bit of a snooze fest. Not on his side of things, but for the other fella, but... It was an exciting fight that Khalil Roundtree won with Pereira. Khalil, he did... I think really, really well against Alex. He is going to be just a ridiculous task for anyone to take on, particularly in the manner that he was going after him, though, in the stand-up. Now, it has come out saying that apparently Alex was fairly compromised heading into this. We don't necessarily know what that is and how deep it goes and whatever. Either way, he was well enough to go and fight. But yeah, to stand up against Alex, so 2-time kickboxing champion that held belts, 2-time UFC champion, arguably the greatest striker ever, potentially, especially in mixed martial arts. The only ones I'd probably be up there would be your Anderson Silva and your Israel Adesanya, I'd say. But Izzy's pretty much the only one that's ever been capable or even has the skills to stand with them. So Roundtree making 4 rounds and essentially what was just a kickboxing or Muay Thai fight is insane. It was such an interesting mix of styles, more Alex on his kickboxing heavy style and then the Muay Thai Roundtree. He did well. He was firing heat and he did rock Alex at one point, dropped him, but it wasn't enough to put him away. The pressure that Alex put on is just broken. Just his size. He just puts people on the back fence and while the back foot puts him up against the fence and puts him away. It's pretty much what he does and really anyone's been able to push him back and impose their own will. He's just too good. Alex wore him down, cooked his leg with leg kicks, really compromised him. I think potentially... If you look at the size of Roundtree, the way that he was fighting, as well as, I guess, the nerves and whatever else in camp leading up to it, you could see he was starting to slow down, really start to gas out. The leg kicks were not helping him at all. By the end of it, the way that Alex finished him, just pummeled him up against the fence. The cuts and how busted up he ended up was brutal. That was some of the worst that I've seen, but eventually just, wore him down and finished him off. That's pretty much how it went. But I think he did well. I think he took Alex a lot deeper than a lot of other people have. Definitely no takedown shot, that's for sure. But props to Roundtree. Tough as nails, fought a good fight, but Alex is potentially the greatest martial artist of all time. He is just a weapon. So I do not see anyone in that division beating him anytime soon. I would love to see him go up to heavyweight at this point. He's pretty much cleared out that division of any contenders. In my opinion, you've got Ankalaev left, but it's like, do we really want to see that? Not really. Him versus, I guess it's kind of tricky because you've got Tom Aspinall. They'll be fighting, I guess, the winner of Stipe, but whoever wins that fight, both of them are probably going to retire anyway. So you can have Tom Aspinall versus Alex Pereira. That would be an amazing fight for a vacant UFC title. That would be the go. But that is pretty much all for this week. Again, make sure you do subscribe, like, comment, Follow all the socials. Like I said, make sure you don't miss any content with the Pacific Cup coming up, and whatever else I'm going to be talking about sporting wise in the off season. Have a good one and take it easy.